The committee finds this amendment, especially the proposal to remove the magistrate grade 2, as well as expanding the value of the estate's magistrates to have jurisdiction over such matters, to be in line with the Magistrates Court Act, Cap 16. The committee notes that magistrates grade 2s are being phased out, making the reference to such a court under the Principal Act redundant. It should be noted that the pecuniary jurisdiction of magistrate courts was revised in 2007. Although an amendment to Section 207 of the Magistrates Court Act and the Administration of Small Estates Special Provisions, Amendment of Jurisdiction, Magistrates Court, Order Section 1, 20 and 21 of 2009. Through that amendment, a chief magistrate's jurisdiction was increased from 5 million shillings to 50 million shillings. The magistrate grade 1 was increased from 2 million to 20 million shillings. The committee therefore supports the amendment, since it will harmonize the provisions of the Principal Act with the Magistrates Court Act, making the law books easy to use. The committee, however, notes that the proposal to express the jurisdiction of court in Uganda shillings does not shield the provisions from inflation. Madam Speaker, one of the shortcomings in Section 3 of the Act is its failure to shield the jurisdiction of court from inflation and changes in the value of money over time. The committee observes that one of the ways of shielding a provision from inflation is by expressing it in currency points and not in Uganda shillings. This is because the value of a currency point is expressed and changes with changes in the time value for money, making the value remain consistent. In light of the above, the committee recommends for the adoption of Clause 3 of the bill, except that the provision should express the values in currency point. Harmonization with other succession laws. Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, the committee has examined the bill and the Principal Act and found that the Act is not in harmony with the other succession laws. Succession law in Uganda include the Succession Act, the Administration of Estates, Small Estates, Special Provisions Act, the Probate Resealing Act, which we have just considered, the Estate of Missing Persons Management Act, and the Administrator General's Act. The committee notes that laws must be in harmony if the succession law books of Uganda is to be effective. For instance, there is disharmony with the use of certain words like dependent relatives and the provisions on intermeddling of the estates of a missing person. The committee notes that in order for harmony to be restored, the bill should be harmonized with the provisions of the other succession laws. In light of the above, the committee recommends that the bill should be harmonized with all the other succession-related acts mentioned above. Madam Speaker, the committee found that the Estate of Missing Person Management Act is due for amendment as explained above. Therefore, it is the prayer of the committee that the estate of the Missing Persons Management Amendment Bill 2019 be read for the second time and do pass. I beg to report, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. Honourable members, the report has been signed by the necessary minimum number. Could we have your comments on the report? Honourable Alban.
Madam Speaker, I'm rising on a point of procedure based on the noise which is above us because of the rain. I don't know whether procedurally it would not be proper for us to stay this for a while for proper business, because the noise is quite high, Madam Speaker.
You cannot hear?
I don't think it's so clear.
Honorable Opendi.
Madam Speaker, I beg to disagree. I think this microphone is loud enough and we can all hear. And Madam Speaker, I don't know why we should even debate this report. I want to propose that we move straight away to the Bills Committee stage. Otherwise, we can all hear, Madam Speaker.
Honourable members, if you want to shout, you can shout. The microphones are there, so we can all hear. Let us proceed.
Madam Chair, it is good. If the members can listen clearly, that's okay then. My first concern is the issue of shielding, the value of the shilling from inflation, where the committee has suggested that we use currency points instead of using the shillings, the amounts. How sure are we that that will provide sufficient cover against inflation? Because I know under our laws, a currency point, for instance, is given 20,000 shillings value. Now, if you are talking about 20 currency points, it means you are going to multiply it by 20,000. And that will give you something like maybe 400,000. How sure are you it is different from prescribing 400,000 in the law? So I would think the committee needs to go back and do some homework there. This committee needs to get the proper cure to this particular concern. Using currency points doesn't help, in my opinion, Madam Speaker. So I think it is a concern that the committee needs to look at seriously. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes. Further comments? Honourable Selvi?
Yes, thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable colleague Ogon, on the currency points and inflation, I think we shall be mixing up issues. For now, currency points can cure. I would like to thank the committee for the well-articulated report. I have listened very well, Madam Speaker, especially on the interpretation clause of the estate of missing persons. When you look at the interpretation clause, the interpretation of dependent relative, which includes a wife, a husband, a son or daughter under 18 years of age, as it was in this, or as it is in the Principal Act, this is obsolete. The committee recommendation to align it with other succession laws is very, very up to date. Also, I'd like to comment on the definition of a child, which they have aligned with the Constitution. It is very proper, Madam Speaker. When we go to Section 3, jurisdiction, which my colleague was commenting about, jurisdiction to make a grant on the pecuniary jurisdiction specifically, a magistrate grade 2, where the total value of the estates does not exceed 10,000 shillings. That was as then. Now the current points cure this. Yes, your concern, Honourable Organ, is very right. Our our currency has many zeros. It has devaluated. But for now, the currency points show us that. We shall look at that when we look at those economic part of the law. Madam Speaker, the committee observations to me are up to date and they are aligning everything with the Constitution. I would like to urge the House that we move, as senior colleague Honorable Saro Pendi, the Minister, requested that we move straight to the committee stage. The committee report is accurate. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Any further comments? Yes, Honorable Alban.
Madam Chair, before we go for committee stage, I would love really the committee to give me comfort on the issue of shielding the shilling against inflation. I'm still not convinced that a currency point is the treatment. No. That is my opinion. So may I get it from the committee? A clarification.
Honorable Vero.
Right Honorable Speaker, the expression of money in currency points or currency units is now a conventional thing. And all our laws, the laws of Uganda, do express fines, or in our law books, we are now using currency points instead of the currency units. And it is all for the reasons that I stated, to try and shield it from inflation, although of course sometimes you can't do everything, but this is the best way, Madam Speaker, that can be done. Okay.
Honorable Jova, and then Honorable Aspasalira.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. This is for Honorable Cyrus's interest. If it is a currency point, we know that one currency point is 20,000 shillings. So even if there is inflation and the dollar is very low, we know that at whatever time, whether the money is low or it is high, you are getting 20 currency points. You are getting a standard currency point. So that's why you are not going to be affected by inflation. Whether it goes low or high, the measure remains the same. So if it is high, you benefit. It is 20 times the amount that you are supposed to get. I hope I have made it clear.
Honorable Saliba.
Madam Speaker, he is coming. He will support me. Madam Speaker, she has attempted to convince me, but I am not convinced beyond reasonable doubt. For this reason, Madam Speaker, a currency point has its value prescribed. As we talk right now, it is 20,000. And that very 20,000 also gets inflated. It will always remain in the books 20,000. It can't. So what are you going to do to convince me that you are shielding using these currency points? It's just not about, because if you multiply and divide, you keep on playing about the same figures. You will have not achieved anything in terms of shielding against inflation.
Honorable Saliba. Then Honorable Gwal.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I am a member of the committee and I want to thank my colleague for presenting our position. The issue the Honourable Cyrus raises is a general issue, and I think we need to agree on two things. Number one, on standardization of legislation. Nowhere are you going to find a piece of legislation with a different bearing outside the issue of currency points. That's one. Number two, currency points in all our pieces of legislation appear in schedules, and those schedules constitute part of the subsidiary legislation, which even the minister is authorized to amend as and when circumstances permit. So you cannot get worried of the fact that as of now, it is standard at 20,000 shillings. If circumstances permit, all our pieces of legislation empower the line minister to actually amend the schedule. And some of those schedules relate to current points. So it is standard, but it is also flexible. So you don't get scared at this point in time. So I hope your issue, Right Honourable Speaker, is addressed.
Honorable Ogwal.
Right. Thank you, Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I think the previous speaker should have been reminded that as a member of the committee, you should not contribute to give time for others who are not members of the committee to ask.
No.
Right Honourable Speaker, Right Honourable Speaker, I am seeking clarification on page 2 on the definition of a missing person. I'm not comfortable with the definition because the subject matter is the missing person. So I want a clear definition of a missing person. And here it is defined, it means a person who disappears from Uganda without making provision for administration of his or her estate. Now, does the person have to disappear from Uganda, or you can disappear from the village, or you can disappear from the district? I want clarification. That's a simple explanation. 2, if I'm smart enough that I had written my will before I disappear, do I still fall in this definition? Because if you make it conditional, that a missing person means a person who has disappeared without making adequate arrangement for his estate. Now, if I'm smart enough to write my will long time before I disappear, do I still fall under this definition? Right Honourable Speaker, I'm just seeking clarification on the definition.
Honourable members, the missing person is one who is presumed dead, but there's no proof that he or she has died. And there's a number of years which need to pass before the presumption is confirmed that now you must be dead. And if you must be dead, that's when your estate, your will comes in. Honorable Organ, you are still not happy?
I know colleagues want to hurry because they want to go home now. But Madam Speaker, legislation is not easy. You've got to be patient and patient with me as well, because this is a very, very important issue. Madam Speaker, if we are talking about reviewing the figures that were inserting in the law after some time, that will work. But to put it in the report that we are using currency points as a way of shielding against inflation, up to now I'm not yet convinced. So as we conclude and we go for committee stage, we need to know the clear position. It is never cure using currency points. That one of using currency points in this law, and the other one is okay. But my issue is let us get the appropriate solution to cushioning against inflation. Then too, Madam Speaker, if we feel that it's okay to review a law.
Point of procedure.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Under Rule 78 of our Rules of Procedure, Madam Speaker, a motion that a member be no longer heard if a member persists in irrelevancy or tedious repetitions or uses objectionable words, and on being called to order fails to retract or explain the words and offer an apology to the satisfaction of the Speaker, any member may, with the consent of the Speaker, move that the member using the objectionable words be no longer heard. I beg to move under the same motion, under the same procedure, Madam Speaker.
Honourable members, I put the question. The honourable member holding the floor be no longer heard. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it. Ayes have it. Let's move to Bills Committee stage.
Thank you.
Bills Committee stage. Honourable members, I put the question that the missing estates of missing persons management amendment bill 2019 be read for second time. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Bills Committee stage. Clause 1.
Now, members, I put the question that clause 1 be amended by deletion. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Clause 2.
Right Honourable Speaker, we propose to, in clause 2, to substitute for paragraph A the following. A, by substituting the definition of the phrase dependent relative, the following. A, B, inverted commas, dependent relative includes a parent, a brother or a sister, a grandparent or a grandchild who is wholly or substantially dependent on the missing person for the provision of the ordinary necessities of life, suitable to a person of his or her station. 2, we propose to insert the following new paragraph immediately after paragraph A and renumber the provision accordingly. B, by substituting for the definition of the word family the following. Family include a spouse and a lineal dependent of the missing person. 3, by inserting the following new definition immediately after paragraph B as follows. That will now be CA. Lineal descendant means the child of a missing person, regardless of the age of the child, including those adopted by the missing person under the laws of Uganda. Then 4, we propose to delete paragraph B and C. 5, we propose to insert the following new paragraph immediately after paragraph C as follows, and it will be D by deleting the subsection 2. Justification, Madam Speaker. 1 is to define the word dependent relative as the word is ordinarily used and to harmonize it with the way it is used under the Succession Act. Bullet 2, to define the word family as the word is usually understood and used. Bullet 3, for completeness, to define the word lineal descendant. Bullet 4, paragraph B and D are misplaced since they do not relate with the head note and the rest of the provision. Then 5, Bullet 5, the deletion of subsection 2 of the Principal Act is intended to remove a misplaced section. Bullet 6, the introduction of a fit and proper person's test is redundant since the Act already limits the grant of a management order to relatives of the missing person, and imposing of a fit and proper person test will be an unreasonable addition that is not necessary.
I just want clarification on the issue of fit and proper person, because the person is missing, but we're not sure whether he or she is dead. But supposing I'm a really big drunkard, and I come and say I want to manage the estate of my relative, can the court say, but you man, you live in the brewery, you are not a fit and proper person? Can the court say that?
To the drunkard?
Yes.
The test of a drunkard depends, I think we then go to the interpretation of the
You know, this is a responsibility being
yes,
given by the court to the relative. But if this relative is known as a drug addict, can the court say, you man, your lifestyle does not show responsibility? That's what I'm asking.
Madam Speaker, that would be subject to evidence when.
That's why we are proposing
Okay.
to delete it.
Okay. Madam Speaker, the Attorney General has something to say, and I'm also reminded of what we had discussed in the Succession Amendment Act. So after he has said what he has to say, I would be willing to have this deleted.
She has basically said it. We are willing to delete it.
No. My problem, I think you should not delete it. That's what I'm saying. Because what you'll be now removing, giving it a possibility of just anyone, whether you're responsible with your life, you have a history of drug addiction, history of drunkenness, they say, okay, now you manage your father's estate. That's what I'm asking. Why are you removing this requirement?
Right Honorable, my understanding is that it's a question of fact.
You know,
Whoever is in charge at the time should be able to assess and see that you are a fit and proper person. And if he exercises the discretion and says you are not, then he shouldn't allow it.
that's why you should not delete it. You have seen the court sometimes say that this surety is insufficient.
Yes.
So now you're telling someone, you administer the estate of someone whose whereabouts we don't know. I don't think you should remove this. That's my position. Unless you have a...
We agree with your proposal, Right Honorable.
Okay. Let's leave that as it is. But there's the other amendment which came earlier. So don't delete subsection. Don't delete that last paragraph, but let us amend the substitute for paragraph A what has been proposed by the chair. We insert a new subclause under B. We amend C, insert a new subclause under 3, and then we delete paragraph B and C, and then we insert a new paragraph. No, we don't touch that one. We don't touch 5. So I put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye. The
Madam Speaker.
No. Yes.
I have some responses. The only problem is that the clauses and subclauses were all read through, so now I also have to read the responses. It would have been better if we could read the subclause with its response. But now I'm taking you backwards. On clause 2, we reject the amendment. The proposal by the committee in reference to a child as a lineal descendant and the others as dependent relatives is in respect of the succession, is in respect of succession to an estate of a deceased person, while the proposed amendment in the bill, section 1,
clause 1B is in respect of the management of the estates of missing persons. Care should be given to all persons that have been substantially and wholly dependent on the missing person. Our proposed way forward is that the definition of dependent relative in the Act should be retained subject to amendments proposed in the bill.
What is the definition of the dependent relative in the Principal Act?
Dependent relative includes a wife, a husband, a son, or a daughter under 18 years of age, or a daughter of or above 18 years of age who is wholly or substantially dependent on the missing person. Right Honourable Speaker, we reject the proposal to amend the definition of a family in the committee report. The definition of family proposed in the committee report is restrictive. If the proposed definition is carried, dependent relatives of a missing person in the category of uncle or aunt or grandparent, first cousin that were wholly and substantially dependent on the missing person would be left out under the care and management of the estate of the missing person. Still under clause 2, we reject the proposal to delete insertion of subsection 2. The amendment proposed in the bill leaves the determination of who is a fit and proper person to the discretion of the court. This is the current practice of court. It is not practical to define who amounts to a fit and proper person, as court will take it into consideration the several factors in order to determine who is a fit and proper person. I beg to move.
So you stand by your proposals, your original proposals in the bill?
Yes, Right Honourable.
Anything committee?
Madam Chairperson.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I'm just wondering, who are we to determine a dependent relative? Why are you refusing my grandmother to be dependent relative of mine? Because the list he read was my wife, husband, child. Oh, what is the new one? Because I want my grandmother to be there.
Yes, Honourable.
The clarification I'm giving, Honorable Biandara, that you are complaining about is in the Principal Act. The committee is proposing to amend to align it with the Succession Act. Dependent relative includes a parent whom your grandparent you want to include, includes a parent, a brother or sister, a niece or nephew, a grandparent or grandchild who on the date of the deceased's death or the missing person was wholly or substantially dependent on the deceased for the provision of the ordinary necessities of life suitable to a person of his or her station. So we are broadening it. Thank you. That's the clarification, Madam Chair.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Madam Chair, maybe I could help by reading the definition of a dependent relative in the Act, and then that would guide us. Dependent relative includes 1. A wife, a husband, a son or daughter under 18 years of age, or daughter of or above 18 years of age, who is wholly or substantially dependent on the missing person. Then 2, it also includes a parent, a brother or sister, a grandparent and grandchild, who on the date when a missing person disappeared was wholly or substantially dependent on the missing person for the provision of the ordinary necessities of life suitable to a person of his or her station. Madam Chair, I read this earlier, but when questions came from the floor, people are talking about grandparents, whoever they were maintaining. And for the purposes of the missing person, I would suggest that we stick to this definition and then leave the Succession Act, which we haven't dealt with, to define, when we get there, make a definition of a child, a dependent relative, then of course the lineal dependents. That is, those are all very well defined and dealt with in the Succession Amendment Act.
So you are suggesting that we leave this until we finish with the succession law?
No, we can. I will concede to deleting the proposal of the committee to amend this. I would agree with the Attorney General, but then we maintain the definition of the dependent relative as in the Act. If that is agreeable to the Attorney General.
Can I give information? Right Honorable Chair, I'm a member of the committee, but what the Attorney General wants us to do is to expand to include uncles, aunties. We must be mindful of the issue of management of this estate. Because these are people, if you are an uncle, you are supposed to be having your own means. If they were looking after you, maybe there will be the way that you can continue to be looked after. But if we enlarge it so much, the estate will be unmanageable, Right Honorable Speaker. That's my take.
And I think the key words in the law are wholly or substantially. You know, if I send you something at Christmas time, once a year, you're not dependent on me. No. Yes, Honorable Ogon.
I still have the feeling, Madam Chair, that the presiding officer will have the powers to decide on as to the right thing. For instance, if it's an uncle or a herdsman, and somebody goes missing, and this person has been wholly dependent on this missing person, how do we sincerely get them away from benefiting? So I would think that it is proper to use the word any person wholly dependent, and the courts will test that The major word to me is wholly. The court will prove whether it was wholly true or not.
But a herdsman is not a dependent relative. It's not. Attorney General, what do we do? This is your bill.
Madam Chair, the committee chairperson has conceded to our proposal.
So your proposal, restate your proposal for the record.
The definition of family proposed by the committee is restrictive. If the proposed definition is carried, dependent relatives of a missing person in the category of uncle, auntie, grandparent, first cousin that were wholly or substantially dependent, on the missing person would be left out under the care or the management of the estate of the missing person. So the committee chair agrees with that proposal and believes that we should have them included.
You know,
I'm a member of the committee, but you are confusing. Grandparent is already there, Honorable Chair. So I don't know why the Attorney General wants us to include it. Then these others, the uncle, the first cousin, I think we better leave it out. And as the committee chair has said, to leave it to the succession. But now we must be reasonable. And in any case, the provision already says, or any other person who was wholly dependent. So it takes care of the Attorney General's concerns.
Madam Chair, these are sensitive matters, I understand, but I thought I made it very clear on behalf of the committee that for purposes of this small estate of a missing person, we should not really, I don't want to say stress it, but overburden it with somebody I remember once in a year or in 2 years. Let's stick to the definition of which is in the Act. And then when we have considered to defining these others in the Succession Act, and that is where they really find their space. This is a specific law. It is on a missing person. When a missing person is found, then he reverts back to manage his estate. When he is not found, then all his estate goes to, because he will have been presumed and proved dead, and all his estate will be managed normally under the Administration Act and Succession Act, etc., etc.
so why don't we remain with our proposals in the Act, the ones of the Attorney General, retain the definition in the text? Why don't we retain what is in the Act?
Yeah, or amend to align with what the Attorney General said. I have not understood the question, please.
You see, it seems there is actually no reason for making these amendments because the categories you are stating here are already in the bill, in the Act,
Yes.
isn't it?
Madam Speaker, it's only the grandparents that is repeated here. The others are not in the Act.
But Attorney General, I want to disagree.
Maintaining the status quo would leave out the uncle, the auntie, the first cousin.
But they should not be included if they have been holy. You know, the fact that I know you and I send you something at Easter doesn't mean you are wholly dependent on me. I just send you a gift once in a while. We are talking about people the one for whom you pay rent, the one for whom you buy the clothes, the one for whom you buy the food, the children for whom you pay school fees. That's wholly dependent. But
I concede, Right Honorable.
Okay, honourable members, put the question that clause 2 do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Clause 3. Yes, Honourable Chair.
Madam Chair, in clause 3, we propose an amendment of section 3 of the Principal Act. In clause 3 of the bill, in clause 3 of the bill is amended in paragraph A, B, by substituting for the words 20 million shillings the words 1,000 currency points. And in B, in paragraph C, by substituting for the words 50 million the words 2,500 currency points. C, by substituting for paragraph D, by substituting the following: the High Court, where the value of the estate exceeds the values prescribed in paragraph B and C. Madam Speaker, the justification is to express the values of the estate in the currency points in order to shield the provision from inflation and the loss of value of the shilling over time. Plate 2, to prescribe the jurisdiction of the High Court.
Honourable members,
Madam Speaker, we are fully agreeable to the proposal.
Members, I put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 3 as amended.
Put the question that clause 3 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it. Now, Honourable Ogon, you know, I just want to give the example in the Act. 50,000 shillings is the limit of a grade chief magistrate. 50,000. Can you see how ridiculous it is? An estate of 50,000 shillings. No, that's what this is dealing with. You know, if in the original law it was in currency points, we would not be making this amendment. But because the value has changed, we cannot no longer state in the Uganda shillings. Because now we are talking about 100,000 shillings in the High Court. Mitwara kumi. You got the High Court for an estate of 100,000. Please accept it. Okay. A new clause. Honourable Chair, you have a new clause.
Madam Chair, we are inserting a new clause in the bill. Immediately after clause 3, insert the following new clauses. 4. Amendment of section 7 of the Principal Act. Section 7 of the Principal Act is amended by inserting immediately after subsection 2 the following. We'll call it 2A. For the purpose of this Act, an order for the management of an estate of a missing person shall not be granted to any person under the age of 18 years. 5. Replacement of Section 9 of the Principal Act. For Section 9, there is substituted the following. 9. Intermeddling with property of a missing person. 1. A person who intermeddles with the estate of a missing person commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 1,000 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 10 years or both. 2. A person is taken to intermeddle in the estate of a missing person where that person, while not being the manager, administrator general, an agent of the administrator general, takes possession or disposes of a deceased person's property. B. Unlawfully refuses or neglects to deliver to the manager any property in his or her possession belonging to the estate of the missing person. Or C. Does any other act which belongs to the office of the executor or administrator. 3. Subsection 1 shall not apply in cases where intermeddling is by a spouse or lineal descendant of the missing person, and it happens before the grant of an order under Section 7 of this Act in circumstances prescribed in subsection 4. The circumstances referred to in subsection 3 are where the intermeddling is for the purposes of A. Preventing the estate of a missing person, preserving the estate of a missing person. B. Providing for the welfare of the missing person's lineal descendants. C. Providing immediate necessities of the missing person's family. D. Preserving and prudent management of the missing person's business, including preserving the missing person's goods of trade. Or E. Receiving money or other funds belonging to the missing person. Number 5. The duration for which a person referred to in subsection 3 may intermeddle in the estate of a missing person is 6 months from the date the person is presumed to be missing, or until the grant of an order under Section 7, whichever first occurs. 6. A person intermeddling with the estate of a missing person pursuant to Section 3 shall forthwith report particulars of the property and of the steps taken to the manager or administrator general or its agent. 7. A person who has reason to believe that the person intermeddling in the estate of a missing person pursuant to subsection 4 has caused loss or damage to the estate, or that there are reasonable grounds for ending the intermeddling, may to the administrator general or it.
There must be something missing there.
Yeah, something is missing. To the administrator general or its agents for redress.
Maybe the word is apply?
Apply.
May apply to the administrator general?
Yes. Okay. 8. A person who intermeddles in the estate of a missing person pursuant to subsection 3 shall be personally liable for any loss occasioned to the estate arising from the intermeddling, and shall make good the loss caused to the estate. 9. A person who intermeddles in the estate of a missing person beyond the time prescribed in subsection 5 commits an offense and is liable to a fine not exceeding 1,000 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 10 years or both. Madam Speaker, justification is, this is a consequential amendment arising from the deletion of Section 2.2 of the Principal Act, which was misplaced where it was. Bullet 2, for harmony with other succession laws where processes are awarded to persons above 18 years and not 21 years, as is in the Constitution, to require the award of a management order to be made to a person above 18 and not 21 years. Bullet 3, to harmonize the provision on intermeddling with similar provision in the other succession laws. And 4, to revise upwards the penalty prescribed in the provision.
Now, members, first, there is the question that a new clause be introduced under clause 4. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Aye. With respect to clause 5, I put the question that the section 9 of the Principal Act is amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Aye. Ayes have it. I therefore put the question that clause 5 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 5 as amended.
Put the question that clause 5 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
The title.
Title. I put the question that the title do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Motion for the House to resume.
Minister.
Motion for the House to resume. Right Honourable Speaker, I will move that the House do resume and the Committee of the whole House do report thereto.
Honourable members, the question is that the House do resume and the Committee of the whole House do report thereto. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Report from the Committee of the whole House.
Let's finish with the bill. Let's finish with the bill. Motion.
Right Honourable Speaker, report of the Committee of the whole House. The Committee of the whole House has considered the Estate of Missing Persons Amendment, the Estate of the Missing Persons Management Amendment Bill 2019 and passed as follows. Clause 1, no amendment. Clause 2.
Clause 1 was deleted. Clause 1 was deleted.
Deleted? Clause 1 deleted.
Yes, it was.
Clause 2, no amendment. Clause 3, amended. Insertion of a new clause in the bill providing for 2A, section 9.
Motion for adoption.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of the whole House. I beg to move that the report of the Committee of the whole House be adopted.
Honourable members, the question is that the report of the Committee of the whole House be adopted. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Let's have it.
Bill third reading.
Minister.
I beg to move that the bill entitled The Estate of Missing Persons Management Amendment Bill 2019 be read for a third time and do pass.
Honourable members, I put the question that the Estates of Missing Persons Management Amendment Bill 2019 be read for a third time and do pass. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Aye. Ayes have it.
A bill for an act entitled The Estates of Missing Persons Management Amendment Act 2019.
Title settled and bill passes.
Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank you very much on behalf of the committee and to thank all the members who debated and helped process this bill, and also to thank most sincerely the Attorney General, who was very cooperative and allowed the whole process not to be intermeddled with. I thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Speaker, I'm sorry for the earlier mix-up. We carried so many and it seems we left others behind. But we want to thank you for your tireless guidance, and I thank members, colleagues for pulling us through. Most obliged.
Thank you again on behalf of the House. Let me thank the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs for the major contributions they've made during this fifth session. Many of the laws have come from that committee. Thank you so much. Now, I'm not sure whether we are ready with the succession amendment bill. Are we? Okay.
Madam Speaker, we did harmonize, but we need to sit again. We shall be ready tomorrow. Tomorrow we shall be ready.
And of course, you're not ready with the administrative agenda?
Yes, we mixed it up.
They're together, okay.
Yes.
Okay, in that case, can we do have some questions, but there was some important matter yesterday. We asked the Prime Minister last week, which was the Prime Minister to handle. Can I ask him to report on the issue of the maize?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Last Friday, I promised that I will come with the government position, which I'm ready now after the heated debate here in this House. And I want to also say, Madam Speaker, that I am grateful at least the House and you, Madam, under your directive, had guided to give us the opportunity to discuss what went through here, and now I'm in a position. So, Madam, I greet you and present to you an update on government decisions regarding the ban of maize exports to Kenya since the last engagement at the floor of Parliament on 10th March 2021. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members of Parliament, as you may recall from the presentation made by Honourable Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on 10th March 2021 on the maize ban, a number of resolutions were presented to the floor, and the government pledged to continue following up the issue. I have continued to deliberate with my colleagues to find a lasting solution. Further to note, the ban of maize was on the Cabinet agenda of 15th March 2020, that was yesterday. The Cabinet discussed the issue, noted the government response to address the ban of Uganda maize exports by Kenya and boost bilateral trade flows, and endorsed proposals contained therein as follows. 1. The government will formally raise concern with the government of Kenya over their failure or refusal to follow laid down procedures under the East African Community and the World Trade organizations instruments of communicating the ban and urge them to follow the procedures in future. 2, the government of Uganda and Kenya will urgently hold a joint interministerial meeting to address the issue of maize and all non-tariff barriers affecting trade between both countries. 3, government will put in place an administrative measure that allows only Uganda National Bureau of Standards, UNBS, certified grains and cereals to be exported or circulate in the domestic market. 4, government will intensify efforts to explore alternative markets, including to expand into the bigger African market under the African Continental Free Trade Area and any other markets. 5, government will continue to encourage and support the formation of cooperatives to undertake self-regulations and act as avenues for increased production, information, dissemination, promotion of essential agricultural extensions, services, and capacity building, consolidated marketing and storage at parish level. 6, government will urgently implement the earlier conceived plan of building silos in strategic locations in every region for post-harvest handling and storage of grains. 7, mass sensitization of farmers by the leaders on the good agricultural practices will be conducted, especially in regard to post-harvest handling. 8, government will explore the options of procuring a gamma irradiation machine in order to mitigate against exportation of contaminated productions. 9, government will fast track approval and implementation of UKEF funded post-harvest handling project by the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, under which several silos are planned to be established across the country. 10, government will carry out its own investigations or tests to establish the veracity of the claims by Kenya against Uganda's maize exports and destroy any grain that is found to be contaminated. 11, government will formalize and regulate the grain in the country. 12, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives will set up a department to regulate the maize and the cereals sector given its economic importance to the country. 13, government will carry out an investigation and analyze to rule out the possibility of increasing non-tariff barriers against Uganda's exports being driven by a silent economic war by neighboring countries. 14. Government will, through cooperatives, provide mobile dryers, community drying and cleaning facilities at the parish level. As I conclude, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members of Parliament, Government will continue engaging with Kenya and find lasting solutions to consolidate our economic and investment relations with Kenya and strengthen the East African community integration. This ends the submissions and the position of the government. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and colleagues, for their attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Prime Minister. I'm just wondering, in Uganda we have the private grain processors in this country that even have silos. I don't know whether you cannot partner with them now, since you don't have your own silos. You partner with the Grain Council because they are engaged in the export of maize, and they have silos all over the country. I don't know whether you cannot partner with them in the meantime as you organize to get us our own silos in the parishes and the other places. Honourable members, you've had the report. Comments? Maybe, I don't know whether Honourable Nabulindo? Let's hear from the border. Honourable Nabulindo. Honourable Sengo. Honourable Nabulindo, then Honourable Sengo.
Thank you so much, the Right Honourable Speaker. I thank the Prime Minister for the statement he has just read to us. The Prime Minister is talking of engagement. The government will engage all those 14 points, the government will. But now this is happening now. The maize are in an open place. It has started raining on them. What can the traders or farmers do now? Because they're almost germinating. So the traders were expecting from the statement from the Prime Minister saying the government will buy this maize tomorrow and maybe give it to NADS and whatever. But now if you talk of engaging will, when the maize are rotting, the border is closed, the maize cannot cross, so this is a time of fees. Sincerely speaking, the traders are very stranded. So, Madam Speaker, I was requesting the Prime Minister at least to be fair to these traders. Thank you.
Honourable Sengo. Sengo and then Minister for East Africa. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister has told us so many things, so many good things. But the problem with this country is implementation. We come up with very good ideas, but we rarely implement. For example, he has talked about cooperatives, but you will appreciate that our cooperatives have undergone a lot of losses following the wars that we went through. And government has not come out strongly to empower these cooperatives. Otherwise, in the past, when cooperatives were operating freely, they were able to ensure quality of agricultural products. So I would request the government